welcome back everyone. I also want to tell you again that we have our metaverse going, and everything will be seen in the metaverse. Fax is showing everyone what we do there. And now we're coming to our sustainability part. Next to me, Martina. I met her in Milan. I'm doing our accelerator, and now she will present with ID Factory the panel Fashion Traceability Revolution.
Yes, thank you everyone for being here. Can you hear me well? I think so. Great. I think we can have a seat. I
yes,
think.
we can just sit down.
Even because everyone had lunch, so I think just chill out, have a chat about digital product passport and what the fashion traceability revolution is about. I think today the concept of digital product passport is a buzzword. Everyone is speaking about digitizing items. How can we actually, through a digital product label, give the information to the customers about where the product we buy come from, how actually what is the impact of the product, and how potentially can we empower circular fashion and take-back programs through, again, the information we share through this digital labeling. And so I thought, who better than actually Theresa, who is the Industry Engagement Manager for Apparel and General Merchandise, very long name, from GS1, can speak together with me from the ID Factory, who is a traceability solution working on digital product passport, about actually what the new standards are going to bring us when we speak about digital labels, and how these standards can align with the new solutions that are coming up in the industry for giving this digital product passport to life. So welcome, Theresa, and thank you for joining me in this chit-chat.
Thank you so much.
Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing, what's your job, what's your role at GS1,
Yes.
To everyone.
Yes. So, yes, my name is Theresa, and I'm the Industry Engagement Manager, and I work for GS1. And you maybe heard of us, maybe not, but you all know us because we are a standardization organization on a global level, and we are a supermarket or at a fashion store. You hear a beep, and then you have to pay. And we are responsible for that because we provide and allocate a number below the barcode that triggers the cash registry. So we have standards for different products and for locations. So the product, when you buy at a supermarket, is a G10. That means a global trade item number, so it's an identification number for a product, and it's used all over the globe in every supermarket, every fashion retailer, everything. So we have a existing, like for 50 years now, an existing set of standards that can be the location numbers or the product identifiers, and that's already set. And in the fashion industry, I'm responsible for the fashion industry at GS1 Germany. And we have a very high level of G10s in the market, so about like 98% of all brands and retailers use our numbering systems. So we have an existing and a working standard. And my job is to bring together the fashion industry in Germany. So we are, as I said, a neutral platform, and we have the industry and the brands come together and discuss their needs and maybe the future of standardization, and yes, that's our main goal. And going forward into a digital world, interoperability is the key to everything because we cannot have different systems who cannot talk to each other, and that's why we're here, and that's our community-driven goal.
I think we can say that when I speak to people and they ask me, what's your job, what are you doing? And I think, I work for creating digital product passport. They're like, what the hell are you doing? What's that? What does it mean? The concept of digital product passport is something linked to, I think, innovation. It's very seen as something that is linked to the metaverse, to a new way of consuming goods that is no more physical but is digital. I think that's not the reality because you have always, as GS1, been working on digital product passports. You have always been working on digitizing items for giving a unique digital identity to each item, because each code, as you were telling me, is unique. And it directly links to the country, to the company information, and potentially you're working to also link to the product tomorrow the information about the suppliers that made up the product. So we already are in a world where the digital product passport is a reality. I think what is changing is the way we want to use it. So what's the way you as GS1 are using, let's say, this digital product passport today? And then I will ask you, how do you think this way will change tomorrow?
Okay, that's a big question. I think
let's start from the first one. So then we are going to go to
so like a digital product passport can be a concept and it can be a legislation. Yeah. So I think that's the two different parts of it. Like a digital product passport can just be a digital twin. Like how to get the information you have on a label or something and add a like physical item to digitalize, to have the information ready when you scan something about a QR code as you're using as well, to just have the information ready and to have it ready on every step of the supply chain. And I think that's our biggest, it's hard to get the data availability and the data traceability. So we want to bring it together at a QR code and or maybe a QR code, a 2D code, and that's kind of what we're already doing. So we have the barcode with the number, with the GTIN, it's only one identifier. Now with a 2D code, maybe a QR code, maybe anything, we can put in all the information together.
I mean, you already answered both questions, so I think you did a great. Now, my question is, but what today is the most common use of the GS1 barcode standard? Is it linked to marketing, communication, logistics, operations? What would you say is most common use?
It's most commonly used at the cash registry, just to pay to get the information. Yeah, to just get the information about how much does this item cost and how can you buy it, how can you get it. But like I said, the barcode is just a 1D solution. There's just the price and maybe the size of the product. You said marketing, that's exactly it. You want to have more information available.
Linked to this digital identity of the product.
Yes, exactly. You want to have more than just like a beep at a supermarket. You want to have, or just like, you want to have, where is my item produced? Where is it coming from? How can I use it afterwards? Like consumer interaction after buying, like connecting your identity with your product maybe. And then we need a digital twin. We need a digital way to utilize that. And we can provide that with a 2D code, and we can store all this information in one, and not just the price information.
And your main work as GS1 is to create the data carrier tool and standardize the way in which these information are put on the product, right?
Yes, so one is identify the numbers, the numbering system, and then you can utilize it in a data carrier. Yeah.
While on the other side, you do not work to collect information. So actually the information that are inserted through this code is not collected for you as a standard.
We provide the standard, and yes, we need solution providers to collect and to map the supply chain.
And I wanted to stress on that because I think what is one of the major concerns that I can say I'm facing as a data factory, we are a supply chain traceability solution. So we work with big corporates as the PVH Group, Wortmann Group, with Hugo Boss, Geox, and many other brands to support them on collecting this data from their suppliers, because today's brands have always been concerned about the direct operation and their direct suppliers, but they are not really aware about what is happening beyond their direct suppliers. So actually, who's supplying to whom, in which country, when we go to the third, fourth tier supplier, where we want to get potentially to the raw material producers, to the farmer, and that's a tricky point, because if you want to communicate in a way that is easy, that is digital on the product, you need someone to collect this information. And that's why we were born in 2015, and I followed the de facto project from the sustainability side to actually collect this information and to train the suppliers to understand how to do that. Because I think that when we speak about digitalization, there is a big problem, which is, again, how can you really make a product digital if the people that make up the product don't use technology, if we're having the brands that have a very effective tool, ERP and management system, while on the other side we have suppliers in Far East Asia that don't even have a good internet connection. We want a data carrier that can collect and communicate and have more information inside, but where do we take this information from, and how are this information reliable? Because again, that's another topic. If we create a standard that is effective when it comes to interoperability, but on the other side is missing the right information to communicate, then we're having a problem. And so I think that's why when we actually decided to have this panel and discussion together, I think we had a great synergy, because if on training the suppliers, vertical on fashion and footwear, on how to collect this information and get in contact with third-party verification bodies for verifying the information they're collecting are useful and are right. So meaning engaging also NGOs like Textile Exchange, Bureau Veritas, TUVES, JAS, whoever is working in the fashion industry, from chemical compliance to sustainability compliance, to verify that effectively the claims that are made on the product are, again, correct or not correct. And I think that's a big topic also for you at European level, with the Green Claims Directive just came across, with the AGEC legislation in France that is making mandatory to communicate this information in the product and digitize this information for each product in order that also the customers can easily assess this information. So how are you exploring this industry change? What's your perception on that?
This is exactly everything you said is true for us as well. Like data availability and data accuracy is one of the biggest challenges regarding a supply chain is traceable and that's transparent. And yes, we need someone like you or any other solution provider to collect the data, because we're gonna need it for the digital product passport. We can provide the standards, so like we can provide a location. In an ideal world, every cotton field has its own location number. We know that's absolutely a future vision, but this would be the best case. You have a numbering system, or you have an identification from every field, from every factory that provides data to a cloud or to a database or something. So we know that's going to be a challenge, and we know the companies need to get ready, and yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges we all see. So what was the question again for the
I mean, the question is now, how are you feeling also this change in the industry?
Yes.
Because you are speaking in Germany with the major, not only fashion brands, but in your focus, fashion brands.
Yes.
And do you think they are ready to this industry shift? Do they have the data, or do they still have to figure out which approach to take to collect information and how to communicate them on the product?
Yes, one of the main fields of my work is now talking to brands and to retailers, because we always have like a 50-50 approach. Like we talk to brands and retailers, how they utilize the stuff, and we talk to them and ask them about this. This is one of because it's very different, and everyone is kind of excited and kind of hoping for a better future and hoping to make it work, and they know it's coming. But the topic of data availability and the accurate data and a solution to provide this data along the supply chain is absolutely still a challenge. So we're working on it, and I think we all together are working on a solution, but it's still a challenge. Yes.
What I figure out from our experience speaking with usually big corporates brands over 50 million turnover, what we realize is that they are scared about these legislations, and instead of pushing for doing more, they sometimes are afraid that doing more and communicating more can be dangerous for them. Yes. As long as they don't have, let's say, a database that they feel confident enough to share the information. Because we speak a lot about communicating, disinformation out there, but the reality is that the major issue for these corporates is to be held responsible for their suppliers when it's the first time someone asks them to be responsible for them. And it's, I think, really everything about collaboration. So if actually these brands are not able to engage their suppliers in data collection process, we will miss to have the information in the product. If we miss to define a standard for communicating information and standardized information in the product, we will miss tomorrow to use this information for the right purposes and really empowering a circular economy. So again, without collaboration, I think the project and the idea we are as the D-Factory working for and you are as just one working for will be meaningless.
Yes. Absolutely, I agree, absolutely. We live in a digitized world, in a global world. We cannot do our own stuff and hope nobody sees us and knows what we're doing, and we can keep everything for ourselves. Collaboration is absolutely the answer to tackle these challenges about the supply chain, because the supply chain is global. It cannot just be German or in the EU, or it needs to have an approach with everyone working together. Absolutely.
And last but not least, collaboration is not about only, let's say, support me in collecting this data, but it's about sharing value. So let's say, not only saying, how do I collect this data from my suppliers, but how do I actually make it economically sustainable for my supplier to digitize this process and give me this information. So I think the data infrastructure behind the supply chain needs to change. Because this information needs to be collected in a way that is scalable, that tomorrow can be easily communicated to the final user. Because what is happening is that if we do not make it economically viable for everyone in the supply chain, also the poorest country where the main manufacturing production process is, that will be difficult and to make it actually collaborative and scalable tomorrow. So we are speaking about problems. I don't want to bother you all with just problems. I think we are here also to provide solutions, to provide also, I think, 3 key words that came up after our discussion that potentially can be the key area to work more on. So as you mentioned, interoperability.
Yes, the standards or the identification numbers have to talk to each other and have to be understood along the supply chain. We cannot have like island solutions. We need to have interoperable standards. We need to talk to each other. We need to understand each other, even if we're not speaking the same language. At least we're speaking the same numbering system or the same standardization system. So it's absolutely important, because at the end of the day, the digital product passport will have all this information about the supply chain. Hopefully, because I think, yes, we're talking about challenges, but it's also an opportunity to really have the data available along the supply chain and to know exactly what we're doing. And it's an opportunity for us. So yes, we need to speak the same language. So
same language, same standard, interoperability. Again, data accuracy.
Yes,
because we need to have this data in a way that is accurate and reliable. And I would say that's actually, yes, a challenge, but also a real process that is going on, because we are both working on a project, the CHIRPAS, that maybe you can say more about how GS1 is engaging in this project, and we as the D-Factory are part of this benchmarking at European level group that is actually defining which potentially will be the next solution that are already out there in the market for creating a digital product passport and making this European legislation actually a reality next year, because we are speaking about this timing, like we expect by the end of 2024 to have a legislation that will make the digital product passport a reality for the fashion business. And you, together with the other parties, are working on having the solutions there and working on actually the providers that are already doing it to make it possible.
Yes, that's absolutely the work we're doing, like to explore what's the challenges, what's the differences, where can we come together and provide, it's an EU project, and to provide an idea for the EU, how could the legislation maybe work, just a framework, what do we need, And yes, because it goes into countries, and the supply chain goes into countries who are not in the EU and who are not as developed, so to say, as we are. And we need to make sure to have that all available and to have a framework, and that's what we're doing.
I think the framework is what is going to make it possible to have a collaboration in place. Let's say we want to make this brand some more scared, but actually excited about potentially creating new projects. We have 1 minute left, so just if you have some questions for us, we're here. Otherwise, you can just reach out later. We are in the startup area. Great. Thank you for joining our panel.
Thank you.